So here we are. I'm just using a conditioner, a leave-in conditioner to detangle. That was the bundle that I didn't unravel. So I started to blow dry my hair on very low heat to get it most of the way dry. Alright, so yeah, so I'm just blow drying. I blew dry the all three bundles and the frontal till it was at least, I don't know, about 70% of the way dry. I don't have a overhead dryer, so I couldn't leave the hair underneath anything, and it would have been too much work to just prop up the blow dryer and MacGyver it and try to find a way to prop it up. So I just dried them the best I could with the hair dryer. And this little mini Conair blow dryer, this is my travel blow dryer. This little sucker got some spunk to it, so it did get my hair dry most of the way. And then I just sat the semi-dry bundles back onto a towel and went on to the next one. I mostly make sure my wefts are dry. I could really care less if the bottom of the hair is dry, because that will air dry itself as you're constructing the wig and manipulating it. And my room is pretty hot, so hair usually doesn't take long to dry in this sauna that I live in. So I just wanted to make sure my wefts were dry, for the sake of, I didn't want the wig cap to get wet, because that would have been another issue in itself. And here's that pink bundle, that damn pink bundle that wasn't supposed to happen that particular way. All right, let's get to constructing this wig. Here are the items that you are going to need. You're going to need a canvas head. Mine's is 23 inches. I have a head with some T-pins in it. You need a wig cap, preferably something flesh toned color that will resemble your scalp. You're going to need a needle and some thread. You're going to need a curved needle, I should say. And you're going to need your hair. So first, I stitch my closure on. Anytime you're doing a wig with a frontal, you want to stitch the frontal down first, just so you have an idea of where everything is going to lay and line up. And I find it easier. I'm so glad I invested in a canvas head, because the styrofoam heads were, one, way too small, so my wigs ended up being so tight and you would have to deconstruct them and redo them, and they don't fall apart as much as the styrofoam heads were doing. So I suggest, if you own wigs, you definitely should get you a canvas head, and they come in various sizes. Like I said, I believe mine's is a 22-inch circumference. It might be 23, not too sure, but it's not any bigger than a 24. So I just took my T-pins, and a lot of the time, like when you order hair, especially if you order hair from like Alibaba, AliExpress, and all of those other overseas companies, they send you stuff along with the hair. So one company, I don't remember who it was, they sent me T-pins with a wig that I ordered, and they were pretty thin, but you know, T-pin is a T-pin at this point. So you want to pin your closure down and have it laying as flat as possible in the front and the back and on the sides, as you can see. So you just want to have it laying down. Don't worry about the lumps in the cap, because that'll get pulled down when you start stitching the actual bundles. But you want to make sure your frontal is as flat as it can be, because the worst thing you want to do is have lumps in your frontals and it doesn't lay flat. The frontal hair will cover any tracks once you start putting them on, but the worst part is your frontal being all jacked up. And I've had times where I've done wigs and everything was looking good, but that frontal was a mess. And you don't want to have the tracks already on and have to take your frontal off and reinstall it. It's a mess. So As you can see, I have everything stitched down, and I tell people, you don't want your frontal to be up like that. So it took me a minute. Like, I had to like constantly just keep stretching and pulling. It took me a minute to like really get this frontal to lay flat. But what was I saying? Yeah, so people ask me like, how hard is it to make a wig? I feel if you have a YouTube account and you're watching this video, you can follow along step by step, honestly. Once I had learned how to make my own wigs, I was making my own wigs for a minute before I went to just buying full-blown constructed 613 wigs. But it's nice every now and again to make your own wig, and I feel if you can stitch up a hole, you have the bare minimum sewing skills, you can stitch a wig. I know some people, they actually use their sewing machines. I don't know how to use a sewing machine, so I can't use a sewing machine to make my wigs, but I know how to hand stitch. My grandmother taught me how to hand stitch at a very young age, so alright, so you want to make sure your frontal is laid over the edge of the cap because you're going to cut the lace off that is in the front of your frontal. Just trust me on it. It's going to look crazy while it's laid down, but you're going to want that space because in the end, we are going to cut the inside of the cap, and I will show you guys what I mean by that. So I'm not going to talk through all of this. I'm just showing you guys basically a very simple over under stitch. Just make sure you're constantly pulling the string because you also don't want your thread to get tangled and jumbled up. Like, that will add another 15-20 minutes into your construction if your thread gets tangled up, and it's a waste of thread if you have to cut it and redo it. So you don't want to constantly cut and redo any type of stitching whatsoever. So just keep going over under all the way around the bundle, or in this case the frontal, and you keep going till you get to the other side, folks. Now, as you can see, instead of starting from the bottom in the back of the wig, I'm starting from the top near the frontal. Now, I know some people, typically, I know I am one of them, I usually start from the back bottom to the top and work my way around, but I wanted to try something new today, so we're going to see how this method works, if it plays well. But I started near the frontal, and so I didn't go through. Please do not go through your elastic band. Go through the fabric. Do not go all the way through the band, because when you go to cut the lace, you're going to be very upset. You're going to mess around, and basically you're going to need to redo your wig. So don't thread through the band. Thread through the fabric, like the mesh at the top, and go through from there, and then just work your way around. Alright, so just be mindful here. I don't cut my wefts. I fold them. Now, some people don't mind cutting their wefts. I don't. I just fold them and keep sewing until I run out of space. So this is what the bottom layer looks like. You can see I tried to go as far into my frontal as I could. And now I'm going to do the purple, the first purple layer. So let's see how that goes. Also, this particular layer I left doubled. Some people will double their tracks in the back for the sake of thickness and fullness and single them as they get to the top for flatness. I mean, it'll also depend on how much hair you used, how large your head is. Usually, I can get away with 3 bundles. I might need to just go get another bundle and dye it and add to this because I noticed when I finished the wig there was a lot of spacing in the back, and you know, if it's a strong wind you probably would be able to see the cap. So I might just get another bundle and just piece together. Like, that will be the only time I would consider cutting into a bundle, is so I can cut and piece where I need particular pieces of hair to go. So if you are one of those people where 3 bundles does it for you, then you don't need to double it. If it works for you and you can single it out the whole way around using all 3 bundles, by all means just do what works for you. Okay guys, so here is the finished wig. I spared you guys of watching me put the last layer on and pull the the frontal down. So this is what it looks like. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take that little tab of lace off that was holding the frontal at the front, and just make sure you smooth any baby hairs out of the wigs. You don't want to cut off any hair. So usually the lace is pretty thin. You could use a razor to do this as well. And you just go right across and boom, the lace is off. So you don't have to worry about that part. Now, you can see that pink. Oh guys, I'm really going to have to dye that because that pink is just throwing the whole scheme off. So you can see what the inside looks like. And in that little pocket, that was the little piece of hair wig cap that I told you guys we were going to cut off. So just go around where there's no thread. If you cut where your thread is at, your bundles will fall out and you will have to cut everything out and start from the beginning, folks. So there is usually an outline of what piece of cap you need to cut out. It's literally, if you have a 3x3 or 3x4, I believe is what I have here, it's usually a very small U-shaped section that you will have to cut off. If you have a ear to ear, which is usually like a 13x6 type of frontal, then it'll be way more you will cut off from ear to ear. But this is literally a U-piece section that you cut off. You can see there. And then I just have a self tanner that, because I don't know where my lace tin is at, and I just spray that on the inside. Now this is slightly easier to do and use when you have darker colored hair, because sometimes this might bleed through the lace. So I just tried to spray it very lightly, and as you can see, that it's as simple as that. You can also use foundation here if you like. If you want to use an actual lace tint, you can. I just blow dry it for the sake of speeding up the process a little bit. So that is what's going on here. Nothing insane, nothing crazy, but this was the wig construction portion of this video, and I hope you guys enjoy. Stick around for part 3. Part 3 will be a quick, just very fast styling of this wig.